everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to Joyful Living. Today I am cozied up in a corner in my bedroom and we're just going to have a very real life chat about the upcoming holiday season, about autoimmune disease, and how this is going to be the year that we are not going to crash and burn come January. And I'm really glad that you're here. Oh, and before I go any further, if you would do me a huge favor, and if you like these types of videos, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. That really helps me immensely. It's totally free. And if you really like what you're seeing here, please consider subscribing to my channel. Now, although I am really focusing this video towards those with autoimmune disease, I know that the things that I'm going to talk about are really true for most of us. So none of this is rocket science. None of this is going to be, advice that you've never heard before. But I did want to do this video today because it is mid-October as I'm recording this. And the time to set us up for success is not December 22nd. That is not when we should start thinking about proactive self-care during the very, very busy holiday months. So whether you're really busy because you have a family with young kids at home, whether it's because you're maybe a caregiver for your parents, maybe it's because your work is extremely busy this time of year, or maybe it's all three of those things. You could have multiples of those going on at the same time, and I love that for you. I have had multiples of those going on at the same time. I think it tends to sneak up on us. I think we tend to be so excited about the holidays, and this is totally me, by the way, that I get this almost like frenetic, hyperactive energy and an adrenaline boost that will see me through, but I tend to neglect my self-care and then I crash and I don't have anything left in my tank to support my energy, to support my emotional and physical health, and that's when I tend to have a flare-up. I happen to have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. You may have a different autoimmune disease, or you may just be a person that sometimes neglects self-care and just experiences burnout in other ways. So by no means do you have to have an autoimmune disease for this video to apply to you. But I think for those of us with autoimmune disease, it actually could mean hospitalization. It could mean being extremely ill. It could mean missing days of work because we have not taken care of our physical and emotional health. So this is a wake-up call. This is a time for you to sit down, hopefully with pen and paper, and to just take a second, and we're going to talk through practically how this year is going to be different. So the first thing I want you to do is really identify, what do you tend to neglect during the holidays? And I have my list right in front of me. And I actually walked through this process for myself, which is what motivated me to do the video. So the number one thing I tend to neglect when the holidays get busy is my sleep, and in particular, my sleep schedule. I start to sort of burn the candle at both ends. I have things starting way earlier in the morning. I want to stay up later at night, whether that's to bake or spend time with my family or watch holiday movies or whatever the case may be. And although sometimes people can get away with that, if you suffer from autoimmune disease, you really can't. And having a solid really good, what they call sleep hygiene, where hopefully you're going to bed and getting up at a fairly regular time every day, you're getting quality sleep, you're allowing yourself and your body enough time to sleep. All of those things are very difficult to maintain when the schedule is crazy with the holidays. So the number one thing that I am going to be better about this year is my sleep and having good sleep hygiene. Number two, I don't make time for exercise. I've talked about this before. There is definitely a connection for me between the amount of exercise I'm getting and how I feel with my autoimmune. I can almost draw a line in my planner to when the exercise falls off and then when a flare-up happens. Now, it doesn't have to be 45 minutes or an hour. Just a 20 or a 30-minute walk daily for me is enough. And it also psychologically just kind of helps center me. It helps me, feel more balanced in my mind, my body, and my soul. Don't you love how the leaves are falling? Fall is definitely on the way. So yeah, definitely getting outside and getting good exercise and doing that for me early in the morning, because otherwise the day tends to get away from me and it's going to start getting dark earlier, and then it just kind of never fits into the schedule because there are so many different demands on our time. Okay, the number 3 thing, and this is so obvious, and we all know it, but it is so tempting, and that is food. Sugar is a major trigger for me, so it's not that I can't enjoy holiday treats. I can. But what I can't do is, go out for a holiday brunch and have cinnamon rolls and waffles, and then have, sugar cookies at lunchtime, and then have, some other have alcohol in the evening. And don't forget that your body reads alcohol as sugar, so that all counts too. I am really going to focus this year on trying to only indulge in one sugar item per day. So I'm not depriving myself, but I am understanding that when I consume a lot of sugar, I am much more likely to have a flare-up, and I don't want to have a flare-up this year. I want this to be the January that is flare-up free. I am speaking that over all of us. So really minimizing my sugar helps me with that immensely, and then making sure that I'm getting enough protein, especially for those of us that are premenopausal and menopausal. I read a thing the other day about the protein requirements for women in our age group, and it's pretty darn high. And I'm a vegetarian, I'm actually a pescatarian, so I have a wide variety of protein sources. It's just that, especially when I'm eating a lot of simple carbs and alcohol and sugar, I tend to not balance that out with plenty of protein. So less sugar, more protein. And then finally, stress management. The thing about stress for me is my physical body reads good and bad stress the same. So the stress could be that we just have a lot going on, that we go to a party at the neighbor's house, and then we're going to a holiday event, and then we're going out Christmas shopping, and there's just a lot of stimulation. Now, none of those things are bad in and of themselves, but they are stressful in that I get myself really wound up in that adrenal process, or adrenal, whatever they want to call it. By the way, clearly I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I should have said that in the beginning. I'm just a girl. So yeah, really managing stress and watching my schedule, looking at my week and going, do I need to have 4 events on this schedule this week? Do I need to pare that down? I know I'm officiating a wedding in the fall. That can be really stressful and busy. And so I just need to be wise about maybe not scheduling much the few days before that wedding, and also not scheduling much for a few days after, to give my body enough time to recover. Because just like, runners need rest days as much as they need hard workout days, I find this time of year we tend to not give ourselves recovery days, and I plan on putting those in my planner and working that out. So what else can we do to set ourselves up for success? Reminder, I don't have time for self-care, but what I really don't have time for is feeling like crap. Because you think you don't have time to do all these things, but if come January you still have all those demands on your time and you feel lousy, that doesn't work. That's the first thing, is to make it a priority. Don't apologize for it. Don't apologize to others, and don't apologize to yourself. Write those self-care things, whatever they may be for you, in your planner. Write down when you're going to exercise, when you have, a really high sugar meal. Really write down, how are you going to counteract that? When are you going to make time to nap? When are you going to make time to put your feet up? When are you going to make that recovery time? And be really intentional and realistic about what you're physically able to do. And we should be doing that all the time, but especially this time of year. Other people aren't going to stop and say, hey, that's right, you have autoimmune disease. You should probably slow down a little bit. That's up to us. We are our own best advocate, which brings me to the number 2 best thing you can do. And that is have conversations with your loved ones right now. The time for me to talk to Scott about what kind of support I need to get through the holiday season is not December 16th, when I'm overwrought and stressed out and exhausted and I feel like garbage and I'm basically just yelling at him. He can't really do anything for me at that point. We are kind of past the point of no return, and it doesn't bode well. It doesn't set us up for success. So we actually had this conversation as I was scripting out this video. We talked about, what things would be stress relievers. What things could we throw money at? I mean, he was like, maybe we need to do a little bit more like healthy takeout, have some restaurants lined up that we already know. We have a Greek place by us that we like. And I know when I get Greek food, I can get good protein and I can get really good food. So maybe allowing a little bit more flexibility with, getting takeout when we need to, making sure that I am giving him lists. He says all the time, I'm not good at delegating, and then I get mad that he's not helping. And he's like, if you would give me specific tasks that I can then do the way that I want to do them, and then that's the caveat, right? You have to release the responsibility. You can't give someone responsibility and not give them any kind of authority over the situation. I learned that in leadership, and it was way easier for me to play that out with my teams than it is for me to play it out in my marriage, but So give your partner responsibility and delegation, but also give them authority to maybe do that task slightly different than you would do it. You're going to have to release some of that control. Talking to myself, it's a good video for me to watch. But set aside time when you're calm and you feel great to have the conversation about how is this you're going to be different. Because what happens when you're calm and you feel really healthy, which is me right now, right? This is a great time of year for me physically. The weather's starting to cool down. But I start to think I'm invincible and that maybe I don't really have autoimmune disease. Oh, that's not really a thing. And I laugh about this with friends who have like a really bad food allergy, who will convince themselves, maybe I'm not allergic to nuts anymore. And then they're pulling out their EpiPen. Like, I don't know what that is about human nature. And I think it's things that we don't want to be true, but nevertheless, those things are true. So have the conversations right now so that your partner or your friends or whoever it is in your life that is those around you that support you can be on your side and can work with you during this very busy time of year. Okay. Plan ahead as much as possible. I am already doing things like cleaning out my pantry, making sure that my baking supplies are in good shape, making sure that I have enough cleaning products to get us through, checking to see, is there anything that I need to purchase? Because the more that I can do in advance, the less stress I'll have on the day. Take Thanksgiving, for example. One of my sons that loves to cook with me, we are already looking at a bunch of plan ahead recipes because neither one of us likes to be on our feet for 12 hours on Thanksgiving Day, but we love making the big meal. So looking at some plan ahead recipes, little shortcuts that are all over the internet. Like I learned years ago that I could make mashed potatoes a day ahead and then stick them in the slow cooker the morning of Thanksgiving and just stir in a little bit of butter and milk, and they're amazing, and nobody's standing in the kitchen peeling potatoes on Thanksgiving Day. But that requires planning well in advance. So now in October, in my mind, is the time to start making those lists. Do you have people coming to stay at your house? Have you checked the condition of your guest room? Like, what are some things that in the past, maybe you've done the day of or the week of, and it's really stressed you out, but you could front load those things and go ahead and take care of them now when it's kind of the calm before the storm. And then lastly, edit the list of must-dos. This is something that I was very grateful that I figured out many years ago when my boys were young. I was making 5 types of Christmas cookies, and it turns out they only really ate 2 kinds of Christmas cookies. And I was killing myself for things that weren't really important to anybody. Now, if there are things that are super important to you, right? Like maybe that's doing holiday cards, which is another thing I dropped off my list. If that's really important to you and it brings you a lot of joy, by all means, keep it on the list. But really evaluate the things you're doing for the holidays to see if you're doing them for anybody. Like, first of all, do they please you? And if they don't please you, who are they pleasing? Because maybe they please someone else in your life, and that still makes it a good enough reason to do it. But maybe if that's the only reason, it could come off the list, especially if it's just one more thing that's going to your already full plate. I know for me, accepting that I do have autoimmune disease, this time of year tends to make me kind of angry because I want to do all the things, but I can't. I physically can't do all the things. So I need to curate my list. I need to edit that list down, and I need to really look at what are the things that make me happy, what are the things that make my family happy, and what are the things that if I didn't do it, probably no one would even notice, and even if they did notice, they wouldn't really care. You need to be making those prioritizing decisions today. Like sit down with pen and paper and do it today. I promise it will transform not only how you feel physically during the holiday season, but the mood in your home as you have more time and margin to watch, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for the 15th time instead of running around preparing something that maybe nobody really cares about. So over on Instagram, I asked you guys for tips and tricks on, that you do on a regular basis. And I was really amazed at how many of you said the simplest thing in the world, which is take a nap. That you put that in your planner. One woman in particular said she literally, during this time of year, writes her naps down in her planner, and that becomes her biggest priority for the day, is getting to that nap. Whatever the case may be, whatever self-care items there are, a lot of you said the same thing about daily exercise. There was sort of this theme of putting the big rocks in the jar first, right? And then letting the other things settle among that. But you can't really do that unless you know what those big rocks are. What are those things that you know you have to do in order to practice really good self-care? Not because you're a diva, not because you're selfish, not because you're lazy, but because you know and I know that if we don't do those things come January, we will crash and burn. I hope this was helpful. I hope that this can be the year for all of us, that our autoimmune doesn't flare up, that we can have a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. I realize some of you are going, it's only October, but the time to talk about this is right now. So whatever you're doing today, I hope you're finding joy, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.